Hey Legion, how y'all doing? It's time for some movie reviews, and wow, last night I saw a lot of movies, 6 movies to be exact. One from 2011, and then the rest from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Well, the other five are 30s, 40s, and 50s, and the first five I saw are from YouTube. But I want to do the one from 2011 first. That's one that might attract views, and it's a movie from Netflix, and it's Johnny English Reborn. And this was the sequel to the original Johnny English. And the one thing, the original Johnny English was somewhat successful and made some money, so they decided to do a sequel like 5, 6, 7 years later, something like that. And the sequel was a big flop. It played maybe 2, 3 weeks, or maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then was quickly forgotten. It didn't make any money. And I forgot all about the movie. And going through Netflix, I checked it out and I started watching it. And basically, it's Rowan Atkinson, and he goes to Tibet for like a botched job he did, and they retrain him on fighting and patience and like discipline and stuff like that. And then he goes back to his organization. It's like a James Bond type organization, and this new girl running it says she wants to change things around and make it a little more PC and not like macho driven and stuff like that. And basically, he ends up getting into a plot to uncover the group called Vortex, which is really, in a way, kind of funny because on Celebrity Apprentice, there's the men's group is called Vortex on there. And basically, it's just that I had the same problems with this that I did with the first one. It's likable enough, and there's some funny parts in it, but you wish it was funnier. Because the big problem is he plays the character too straight, and then when he does something goofy, it doesn't always gel. Most of the humor and the funny stuff was in the first half hour, and my dad was laughing. There was a couple parts after that that was funny, but not nearly enough. Like in the Pink Panther movies with Peter Sellers, the great Peter Sellers, he was always funny. He was always on his game, and he made the whole movie funny. Well, whenever he was on, and they had an interesting story too. This one, they do go through this like a elaborate plot, like James Bond type thing. It wasn't very exciting. I liked the part where he was driving the wheelchair, the souped up wheelchair. I thought that was cool, and there was some cool gadgets in it, like just like in the James Bond movies. Uh, the same thing as the same problem I had with, like I said, the first one is likable enough and some funny parts, but you wish it could have been funnier. And he was playing it too serious, just like in the first one. So I give this very mild 7 out of 10. My dad loved it, and it was nice seeing my dad laughing for a change. He says he doesn't laugh at many comedies. So a mild 7 out of 10 for Johnny English Reborn on Netflix. I mean, it's worth seeing. I mean, I got my sister has a Netflix account, and I'm one of the people who you can share it with like 5 people and stuff like that. I mean, if you get a chance to see it for free, definitely check it out. It's not boring at all, and it moves along at a good pace. It's likable enough. I just wish it was funnier. Like I said, very mild 7 out of 10. That was the actual last movie I seen. Now I'm going to go to the old movie I seen in or the order I saw them. First one was called Midnight Manhunt from 1952 with Leo Gorcey and George Zucco. Now I'm a big Leo Gorcey fan from the Bowery Boys and East Side Kids, and this was one he did which he wasn't in the East Side Kids or Bowery Boys. And basically it involves waxwork or a wax museum of gangsters, and there's this one gangster that people they allege was dead for like 5 years, and then some guy kills him, and then he doesn't kill him all the way, and he robs him. And the bad guy's played by George Zucco, who usually plays the bad guy. And the guy, he didn't kill the guy, and the guy like wanders around until he finally collapses and dies. And this night watchman of this wax museum finds to call the cops. The cop says he's crazy. And there's this woman reporter who said she never gets recognition she deserves, and it's like a big thing that she finds out about the body. She calls the cops. The cops get involved. This other guy gets involved. A whole bunch of things with them moving the body around, and it's very entertaining. It's a crime comedy. All these movies are comedies, and I liked it real well. My dad said it was a little bit complicated, but I didn't think it was because they eventually explained everything, and I give that a very high 9 out of 10. That was really good. The one after that is called Hayfoot which is really strange. It's a Hal Roach. It's not strange. It's a Hal Roach movie, and this is one of the Hal Roach movies that are only like 43 minutes long, and Noah Barry's in it. If you remember him, he was in Rockford Files with James Garner, and Noah Barry Jr. I think his name is. And basically, it revolves around this guy named Doubleday, and it's easy to remember his name because he's a guy that's book smart. He can read a passage in a book and he can memorize it like an army manual and memorize it. And it's kind of easy to remember him, Doubleday books. And he was so book smart after a day in the army, he got promoted to sergeant. So all the other sergeants don't like him, but there's a problem. He can't shoot for shit. Oh, he's a terrible shot. And if you remember, well, anyone in the army knows in basic training, like 75-80% of that is knowledge of using your weapon. And they use pistols in this one, where we had the M16. And it's very entertaining. It slows down a little bit towards the last 20 minutes, but it's very entertaining. 43 minutes. I give that a 8. I give that 8.5 out of 10 because it does slow down some during the last 20 minutes, but it's not bad at all. Now, next one is called We're in the Foreign Legion Now. I think in the Foreign Legion Now, we're in the Foreign Legion Now with Reginald Denny. And basically it's about these guys who robbed this one, who was in the bank robbery with one guy, and they kind of screwed the guy over. And they were in another country living a good life, and they find that this gangster guy's after him. He goes there. And so what happens is they get talked into joining the Foreign Legion to escape this gangster. And right there, the similarities go into comparison with the Laurel and Hardy movie Flying Deuces, where they both joined the Foreign Legion because of a woman. Then their reason was to forget about this woman. And I'll tell you what, Flying Deuces kicks this movie's ass. Flying Deuces was so funny. It's my favorite Laurel and Hardy movie. And this one is just not funny. I'm sorry. I gotta go to bed after this 6:20 in the morning. Oh man, I'm tired. Well, anyways, I wanted to make sure to do these reviews before I forget some stuff. And I said the movie is just not funny, and it's not shot well. It's not shot. The characters aren't interesting. It's real stale. It gets a little bit better towards the end. It becomes a little bit like a Western at the end, but it's not shot well enough to really get it interesting. But it's interesting enough for me to raise it from a 3 out of 10. Because I was going to give it a 2 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10. It's just not that good. Thankfully, it's only 54 minutes long. It's just, I didn't care for it. My dad didn't care for it. Now, the next movie is called It's a Joke, Son, with this guy named Senator Cleghorn as a character he plays. And the most famous thing about this was this character was that he did in radio shows and finally in a movie was the character that influenced him, became Foghorn Leghorn in Warner Brothers Looney Tunes movies. And you see a lot of Foghorn Leghorn in this guy. And it starts out a little bit slow, and then there's the part where these ladies come in to talk about drinking, wanting to abolish alcohol and bring back. They're like these real stuck-up ladies, and this one kid's supposed to help the guy make some grape lemonade. And he said, "Get this grape juice." He couldn't read, so he got everything like whiskey, hard cider, and put in a bowl. And all these ladies got drunk real bad, and that was funny. And then it gets down to like this big political thing. And it's basically a political comedy with corruption and stuff like that. It's really hard to describe, but it's not a bad movie. I'd give that probably a 6.5 out of 10. It's not bad. It could have been a little bit better, but it's not. I remember liking it a lot better when I saw it a long time ago, Matinee to Beat You, back in the early 80s. I liked it a lot better then than I did now, but oh well. And then the next movie was, it was supposed to be Colonel Effington's Raid, and then things screwed up. I didn't feel like starting the movie again, so I went to the next one, which was East Side Kids again. Boys of the City. And this is another one where Leo Gorcey does not get top billing. He didn't get top billing in Flying Wild either. Can't remember the guy's name, but he didn't get top billing. And Hunt's Hall's not in this one either. But it's cool because this is actually, I think, their first haunted house one. And I didn't know this was a haunted house one because it's called Boys of the City. Because the haunted house ones were the most popular one, especially Spooks Run Wild. That's the one I knew about in the 80s. Back through Admit One video that was advertised in Fangoria magazine. I didn't get to see that till the '90s because they used to sell these. They used to sell public domain movies at Walmart. No, at Ames, and also at McCory's, especially McCory's. That's why I got a lot of the ones before I discovered oldies.com on DVD back in 2002, 2003, or something like that. Anyways, this revolves around a haunted house thing about this corrupt judge who, these kids get in trouble when they said they're going to go to jail or then go to this mountain retreat to help reform them. So they decided to go there. And along the way, there's this judge, a corrupt judge, and he wants to get away from the public and stuff, the public eye. So what happens is he goes into hiding. He goes in this creepy castle owned by a relative, and the castle is supposedly haunted. And they get in and then they run into the Bowery Boys, and the Bowery Boys, his car breaks down, and they ask to they spend the night in the old house, and a whole bunch of antics happen with crazy antics happen with the kids getting scared and stuff like that. And this one I really enjoyed. I give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It was awesome for Boys of the City, East Side Kids. So there you have it, a night of comedy, 6 crazy movies. Let me make sure that Johnny English Reborn, uh, Midnight Manhunt, Hayfoot. Now I think Hayfoot might be something might be a derogatory term used for a soldier, but I never heard of it until this movie. Hayfoot, well, I said it was like that to Hayfoot, and then it went in Foreign Legion, then it's jokes and then that. So that's 6 movies I wanted to double check. So there you have it. A night of comedy, 6 crazy movies. So until next time, take care, my Legion.